forgot what I forgot. Did you like so did you like the flag to flag?
Yeah, dude. It was a good race.
Oh,
Jack Miller, man. So, okay. So a couple of things. I think I mentioned this earlier, but I still think that it's going to come down between Fabio and between Zarco and between Francesco. I think those are the three that it's going to end up coming down to. Even though I think Miller won this last one.
One lost two now.
Yeah. But I still think he, out of all of them, he seems to be a little bit hit and miss. Like Zarco, Fabio, Francesco are always, I feel like, in the top 5. And I feel like Miller is like number 1, number 2, or he's like number 8, if that makes sense.
Well, it does. What'll be interesting now is whether he's actually turned a corner.
Yeah.
Because at the end of last year, the last like 4 races of last year, he raced all of them about like he did the last 2. Like real consistent, near the front, fighting a little bit, and then making a run at the end. Like, so that's why it was very surprising for me. Because remember at the beginning of the season, I was like, oh, Jack's a big favorite. Or not favorite, but he's a big contender. And then he sucked in the first 3 races.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So now he's at the point when he's actually running kind of like people were expecting him to run at the start of the year. So it'll be really – I agree with you, though. I still would put Fabio and Francesco or Pecco as the favorites. I'd put Zarco and Miller on the same level.
Right.
So I go Fabio or Pecco, Zarco, Miller, and then whoever.
That's interesting. So you would have Miller. You'd have Zarco ahead of Miller, or Miller ahead of Zarco.
Sorry, I think I accidentally messed up with my speakers and I missed all of that.
Oh no! So were you saying
I was like, "Well, is Greg muted? I can't hear him." That was on my end. I screwed something up. My bad.
So you have Miller over Zarco or Zarco over Miller?
Probably neck and neck.
Oh, okay.
Zarco still never won a race. I don't know if you know that.
No, I did not know that. I mean, Miller's had we said, was it 2 back-to-back of first places, right? Because he won the Spanish GP as well.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and then I think the one before that, though, the one before that he crashed, if I remember right, or he had something wrong with his bike.
You're right, he did crash before that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So I mean, if he didn't crash, then he would have. There's a chance that he'd be in the top 3 already ranked. Because I think
he would have got points. If he had a top 5 in that 3rd race or something, he'd be in the top 3 for the champion. He wouldn't be ahead of Fabio, I don't think, but he'd be. He's a top 4, right? He's 16 points back or something. So, I mean, it's easy. It's kind of funny because we're like, it's not a bold prediction because the best guys are the guys that are 1 and 2 right now, and the next 2 guys are the guys that are 3 and 4. Wow.
I had that. It's kind of funny because I know that Miller's been having. He's had 2 back-to-back races, but then I heard this interview that he had. And it sounded like he came off kind of cocky. I was going to play just a little clip of it.
See if you can share it.
Yeah, here it is.
Well, Dick, here's the deal. I'm the best there is, plain and simple. I mean, I wake up in the morning, I piss excellence, and nobody can hang with my stuff. I'm just a big, hairy American winning machine. If you ain't first, you're last.
Dude, I don't know what Miller's thinking, man. That kind of attitude, man. You're just not going to win any friends.
Yeah, that's what I was. A couple of those things confused me. One was the fact that he was just so high on himself there, but I mean, also just coming off of only having back-to-back 2 good races. But yeah, it sounded a lot like Ricky Bobby. And in fact, he was talking about being American. I thought he was like Australian, but I don't know.
What was the Ricky Bobby quote I just heard the other day? It was the when he says when he gets in that argument, when he says, with all due respect, he's like, then he says whatever he wants. You can't just say with all due respect, then say whatever you want. He goes, yes, I can. It's in the Geneva Convention. I was remembering that because I was watching a baseball, this is off topic, but I was watching a baseball highlight where the ball was hit to the left fielder, and the center fielder trucks it all the way across the field, jumps in front of his teammate to grab it, and then makes the throw to home plate to try to get the runner. Well, and then after the thing, they're interviewing him, and they're like, why'd you do that? And he pretty much just said, hey, I'm a humble guy, but I am the best center fielder in all of baseball, and I just, like, my guys next to me, my outfielders, they know that. And it's like, you mean your teammates? They're not your outfielders, dude. Because his teammate was pissed. His teammate's like, what the hell? That was my ball. And then people were talking about Ricky Bobby in the comments.
That's funny, man.
No, dude, I actually had
one clip of that. What's that?
I had one clip I wanted to share too, actually, real one though, from the race. It was when I was talking last week about like what a freaking demon on the brakes Fabio was.
Oh yeah.
And he had, like, I think I could almost do a highlight. I'm not gonna do it, but I could almost do a highlight like once a week where I just go like, let's look at Fabio's on the brakes again. So watch him make this pass here. He comes from way back. He looks like he runs the corner wide and then still takes the inside line and beats both those guys around the chicane.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that was nuts. And Steve's on the announce. I didn't turn it up, but Steve's just like, no way, he's running wide. Because he comes up the inside there. It looks like he runs wide. And he's like, no. And he just double passes both guys.
Jeez. Man,
yeah, so that's how. Let's see, now do I stop? Oh, okay. Yeah, man, the dude's just fantastic on the brakes, and he didn't have any arm pump this week, so it's just going to be him and I don't know. Next week's a Ducati track though, Mugello.
Yeah, and it's the Italian GP, correct, for next week?
Oh shit! I silenced you again. My bad.
Oh, you're right. I said it's the Italian GP. Is that correct?
Yeah, and Mugello is the home GP of Ducati. Like, the Ducati factory is just down the road, and they test all their bikes at Mugello.
Wow.
So they essentially engineer their bikes to win in Mugello.
To race that track, yeah, for sure. Hey, Taka had another good race, though. I mean, not excellent, but finished top 10.
Well, he was really good in the dry, remember? Like, he was right up there. But then when it got wet, he just couldn't hang.
How is he? I don't really know the history, but how is he typically in wet weather?
I haven't seen him race enough in wet weather either. There haven't been a ton of wet weather races over the past few years. And
it's been a while too, so I kind of forget. But what went on with Marc again? I know that he didn't finish. I think he
crashed twice.
Yeah, I know he got in one. I know he got in one wreck. I didn't remember the second one.
I didn't see the second one. We just saw him in the gravel trap, like stomping off. It was he was doing he was just like stomping. It was really funny. And then Matt on the announcer, he just says, I don't remember the last time Marc crashed twice in the same GP. I was thinking, I know it technically. I was like, well,
he did
crash the one he got hurt in last year.
Yeah,
but he didn't technically crash twice. He drifted into the gravel track once, and then he crashed. But I don't know. It's like, I don't know. He's screwed up before, but I actually thought he might win the race when he got out to the front.
I was still a little bit pessimistic on it. Just the fact that I didn't think. I mean, actually, it was weird because I didn't. For some reason, I was expecting his practice runs to be better than what they were. Because and when they weren't, I knew that it was wet weather, and he's, history says he's the best rider in wet weather. But from what his practice was, I wasn't thinking a bad placement, but I was thinking somewhere along the lines of like 4 to 7, somewhere in that ranking.
Yeah, it's just funny how rain changes all that. When you get true wet weather, it kind of levels out all the bikes. Yeah. And Marc is just the most talented in weird conditions.
It looks to me like Marc is 100%. Like, I think he is trying to win I don't know. I mean, everybody's trying to win every race. That's a dumb thing to say, but he's trying too hard to like instead of letting the race kind of come to him, which sounds like he's really good at that in the past, and then kicking it in the last final laps. It's almost like he's trying too hard initially to win the race within the first few laps and then just have the lead the whole way instead of kind of letting the race come to him and then, pushing it in the final.
Well, he's won a lot of the races doing that, fighting early and then managing a gap. But what you're seeing, I think you're seeing the same thing I am, is that just in general, he almost seems to be impatient with how long it's taking him to come back and get physically fit. And he's kind of forcing, because that's what it felt like. Like he high-sided. Actually, all the Hondas were high-siding, meaning they were losing the rear end.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So the high side, so the front, usually your front end tips, like your wheel tips in, and you just low side and you just slide out. But if you see the rear end start to come around, and then it whips back into shape and the biker catapults over to bike, that's a high side, and that comes from losing the back. The rear tire gets loose.
Okay.
And even in practice sessions, the Hondas kept high-siding. So I wondered if there was something with the power. So if your traction control system isn't working that well.
Yeah.
Because usually what happens is, just like in a car, if you're stomping on the gas and your tire is slipping, the car will cut power to the tire to regain traction. And it looked like, I wondered if there's something going on with the traction control in the Honda in the wet weather, because like three of the Hondas.
Well, I was wondering,
like 4 or 5 Honda high sides.
I'm remembering too. Is Pole a Honda? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Okay, because he did that too. It looked like he slipped a little bit too.
Yeah, he did crash in practice as well in the race.
Yeah. No, I don't think he crashed in the actual race, but in the practice.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right? He didn't crash in the race, right?
No, I don't think so. I think he crashed in qualifiers.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wondered if there's something going on with that bike. Oh, dude, how about Alex dumping it on the first corner once he got his wet weather bike? 3 in a row.
I know. Oh, he's had horrible races this year.
After that first crash, and Carl and I called him a crasher. He's crashing the next 2.
Dude, Suzuki's got to be pissed. Suzuki's got to be outright furious because he is not making them look good. I think it's like 3 or 4 races in a row now that he has not done well.
Yeah, he hasn't finished. I don't know, man. And Mir crashed too.
Yeah, dude. How about Val freaking securing a top 15 for once?
Actually, he would have been top 10 if it had stayed wet the whole time.
Yep. Yeah, he was doing great.
Yeah, and actually, he looked decent in the dry weather. So I wonder if he wasn't lying when he said that they, in the test at the week before, in the Monday test, he said they found something.
Oh, okay, yeah, because they made some adjustments. That's right.
Yeah, so if he can do consistent top 10s the rest of the year and sneak into the top 5 or 6 a few races, he might keep riding.
Do you think he's a guy that can get do you think he can get a top 3 at all in any of these upcoming races? Or you think that's kind of outside of his capability at this time?
I'd love for him to, because he's sitting on 199 career podiums.
Oh, freak. That would be awesome to get number 200.
I know. He's going to be like Bernie Mac in Mr. 3000. Like trying to get that last podium.
Oh, man.
So there's always, if he can start consistently getting in the top 10s, get some top 6s, then if things roll his way, he might be able to. It's a long shot.
Yeah.
But, we'll see. But it was good. He was looking really good through FP2, I thought.
What happened with Frankie? I was trying to figure that out. Did it look like he got a penalty? Am I right on that?
He crashed. He might have remounted later, but I don't think he got a penalty. Fabio got a penalty. Both the Ducatis.
Frankie finished.
I think he remounted after he fell off. So he came in. There was a bunch of bikes on a tight corner, and he came in too hot. And then he had to run on into the gravel. Like something happened in front of him, so he couldn't tip in. He had to go straight.
That's right.
And he ended up in the gravel and then fell off and twisted his knee and kind of went turtle for a second. Then he got up and he's holding his knee. It's like, oh shit. And then he got back on.
That's right. Yeah, because I do remember him finishing.
Did you like how much better? I mean, Fabio ran a good race considering he's not a wet weather guy. But did you see how Jack had to take 2 long lap penalties, and he still caught up to him pretty quickly?
Yeah, Jack was on fire. He was killing it. But honestly, so was Zarco. I thought Zarco was pretty solid that whole race.
Well, dude, I got another pretty great video from Zarco from he had to take a long lap penalty last year. And dude, usually guys, because the long lap penalty is the part you have to run on is kind of on the edge of the track. So it's the grip's not as good. It's dirty, it's whatever. So guys kind of go a little timid through it. And you just have to watch Zarco, dude. He freaking he dragged knee all the way through the long lap. And he didn't even lose a place, too. Like, watch him go. He's the 3rd place right there. Watch him go through this long lap. Puts his knee down and just rips through it as if he's in a normal corner.
Yeah, that's incredible.
And you can see the dust kicking up underneath his bike, and he still stays ahead of Fabio.
What did he finish last year overall?
Can't remember. I don't know. He was down to the mix.
I'm curious.
It was a new bike to him. He was still a new team.
Zarco, right?
Yeah. But yeah, him doing stuff like that is why he's so great to watch and why people like him.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Well, I got a question for you as a sports guy in general.
Yeah.
So you know the arm pump surgery these guys have been having, right?
Oh, yeah.
Simon, who's the former MotoGP racer that's the interviewer on the track level, he actually said during, I think, FP1, he said that he doesn't think these guys should be allowed to get arm pump surgery. He thinks that part of being a racer is your physical capabilities and endurance. And he's like, he goes, I never had arm pump surgery, even though other guys would. And he goes, but he goes, that was part of my racing ability, is that I had the physicality to last a race distance without like medical enhancements.
I actually don't disagree with that because it would almost be like maybe you're not the best racer, but if you are a middle of the pack, a 4 to 8 racer, but you're going to race every race, and you have that endurance, like, dude, I actually think that is, I agree that is a capability. That is, I think he has a point. Like, take out the medical advances, take out the ability to go and get the procedures, and you may have people that have to sit out races to rest, or that if they fight through it, they just don't have the same ability. Instead of finishing in the top 3, they're finishing 10 through 12 type of thing, or even worse on some days. And I think that he's got a point. I mean,
yeah, it's kind of like, where do you draw the line though? Because then if a guy, like in basketball,
it's not like doping, like
no,
like
right.
But
it's also like in basketball, if a guy tears his ACL, are you going to say, well, I guess you should have had a naturally stronger ACL, dude? Sorry.
Right. And that is true. There are people that are just more genetically susceptible to having body breakdowns.
It's just a weird thing because the arm pump, nothing's broken on your arm.
Right. It's more, I would say it's more cosmetic.
Well, it's not cosmetic because it's performance enhancing.
Right. But I mean, it's not like necessary. Like they could.
That's
right. Like technically they could race with the issue.
Right. They just can't last race distance because they can't feel the bike. They can't grip the throttle. Right. And it's also, yeah, dude, I don't know. I'm not aware of surgeries in other sports where it's like, I don't have the endurance to do the sport, so I just get this surgery.
Right. Well, how often can they have that surgery done?
That's what's weird. Most guys that have had it, they maybe get it twice, but it's like over the course of. Fabio had it in 2019, his rookie year. I haven't heard of anyone have it in the same year. It's like turning it into a thing everybody does, though. Like, it wasn't just Fabio that had it last weekend. Aleix on the Aprilia had it too.
And
So
quick surgery says it takes about an hour. And
yeah, it's quick, dude. They just cut in.
But can they race the next race afterwards?
Yeah, Fabio got his surgery on, I don't know. Well, they got it
like an outpatient.
He got it like the Monday after his race when he fell out of the lead, and then he was ready to race a week and a half later.
Jeez.
I know he still had like stitches and a bandage on his forearm. And Jack, I think the same thing. In the race he won, he fell in practice and it tore open his stitches on his arm because he had the surgery a week before as well. So I don't know. It's kind of funny though. None of the guys that I don't know if you've heard them talk about the VR46 Academy.
Mm-mm.
So Valentino Rossi, number 46, VR46, he actually has his own kind of riders training program where he picks young guys and develops them, and they go out race in his home in Italy, and they develop.
Wow.
And Pecco came out of that, and so did Franco.
Oh, Franco came out of that.
Yeah, Franco came out. So him and Valle are really good friends, been friends for a long time.
Wow.
And Franco came out of that, and another guy that's on the grid too, Valentino's younger brother, his half brother, also came out of that. And they said none of the VR46 guys have, in any level, have had to have the arm pump surgery. So there's something in the water out at Valle's ranch.
Wow. That's
I also heard this week that they're closer to setting up Valentino Rossi's MotoGP team next year. He's gonna have his own team that he manages, I think, either next year or the year after, and they're probably going to use Ducatis.
Wow. By next year or the year after, you said?
I can't remember. It might be next year, but it's definitely the year after. And yeah, Valentino's just going to die in the MotoGP paddock. He's never going anywhere. Whether he dies on a bike or just dies sitting in a garage.
He's just going to keep riding.
Yeah, he's going to be like those old dudes on the Ducati team that manage Gigi, Davide, Rubio, and not Davide, whatever their names are, Italian.
So I've got a question for you. Just kind of looking ahead, and I'm not positive if they always run these tracks. I'm assuming they do, but between the Japanese track and the Thailand track, which one do you think is more challenging, or that would play an advantage to a more experienced rider?
Probably the Japanese track. And often that's because at Motegi they usually have more inclement weather, variety of conditions. But Thailand can too, because
I was pretty excited to see both. I didn't it's my first year going through this, so I was pretty excited about both those tracks. Those were two that caught my eye.
The Thailand MotoGP track is really cool. Okay. So they have let's see if I can, just the layout of it is super cool. Let me pull that up for you.
They're racing at 4 a.m. I think Eastern time.
Yeah, exactly. If we don't, we never get to watch any of these suckers live.
Yeah, you might be able to watch that one live though, because that would only be 2 a.m. your time.
Yeah, I'll watch if they ever come to Texas again. So that's the Thailand GP.
Oh wow! Look at that and sharp turn right there in the middle.
Yeah, well, that's actually like the start finish.
Oh man,
is right in that there. So the bikers and like the center here has a bleacher, like the stadium in it. Oh, so people are sitting there looking out either way, and the bikes race down here, turn the sharp corner, and race down the other way. Oh, so it's got like two straightaways next to each other.
Wow.
It's a fun track.
Yeah, that looks like a fun track. Can you pull up the Japanese one as well?
Let's see. Motegi MotoGP.
Man, that is it. Look at that sharp corner right up the very top, though. That top right hand, that is a sharp corner, too. It's like a straightaway and then another sharp corner.
And I don't remember
another straightaway.
And I actually don't remember the Japanese. I actually don't remember the Japanese one that well because They didn't race it last year because of COVID.
Mm.
And the year before, I might have been busy and not watched that race because Marc already had the title wrapped up. But yeah, Marc already had the title wrapped up by the time. So that's the.
Oh wow, dang, dude, look at that! Oh, look at that! That's a long straightaway.
Yeah, the back straight is huge.
Yeah, back straight. Yeah,
but it's kind of an interesting track. It's not like a free flowing track that a Yamaha or a Suzuki would like. It's more like tight corner, accelerate fast. Tight.
Yeah,
corner,
that looks like a Ducati track.
Yeah, so Ducati and Honda will like this track.
Especially that back straightaway, man. Ducati.
Maybe this third sector here.
Oh yeah.
Because that's a few sweeping corners, but then this back straight is back to Ducati. And dude, the Ducati bike looks so good this year.
Yeah, it does. It really does. It looks honestly like the most balanced bike.
Yeah, because they figured out how to make it turn a little bit better, and it already had a great engine and great brakes.
Yeah, and it seems to, out of all the bikes, it seems to accelerate and decelerate. Like it seems to go in and out of the corners the most, like the smoothest.
Yeah, and so because of that, its tire life has been great. I said at the beginning of the year that I hadn't seen. It looked to me like Yamaha and Ducati had progressed enough that Suzuki no longer had a huge advantage in tire life.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really what got them the title last year. It was just their tire life was better than everybody else's, but I'm not seeing it this year at all. The Ducati seems to be good in every condition. The Yamaha had trouble in mixed conditions when it's like not raining, but the track's wet. Maverick felt like a rock once the track got a little wet. He couldn't hang.
Yeah, that's
Maverick's good in the rain. He just in the mixed conditions he didn't run well.
Yeah, I'm looking at KTM got a top 5 finish. I almost missed that. I didn't realize that.
Who was it?
Danilo.
Was it Danilo? It was Danilo, right?
Yeah.
Danilo might be the best wet weather rider after Marc.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Danilo,
I didn't realize that.
He's really skilled at it, but he also is heavier than most riders, so he gets through the water a bit better.
KTM, they didn't do bad. I mean, they had a 5 and a 9 and a 13.
And then Miguel.
They had 3.
I think Miguel Oliveira crashed out.
Yeah, he did. You're right.
Miguel crashed out. Both Suzuki's crashed. A lot of riders crashed out. I think Maverick made it all the way through. He didn't crash.
He did. But... Yeah, he made it all the way through. And you know what has been kind of disappointing though, and I don't know, like I said, because this is my first time going through all of this, but Suzuki seems to really be struggling this year. I don't know if that's pretty typical or if that's something out of the ordinary.
It's hard to say because they also started last year slow.
Mm.
And Johan had a couple of like runs from the back up near the podium that were really impressive.
Do they really bank on Rins? Is he like their lead rider?
Well, no, Johan's the world champion. He won the whole thing last year. So no, but they expect both their guys to be title contenders. And Alex Rins was in 3rd place in the title last year. Like he wasn't a scrub. So he's been a huge disappointment. And Johan's not really there yet either.
Yeah, John, he's hit and miss. He's had a couple really good races though. It's funny, I call him Mur. I never call him Johan, so I had to think of that for a second when you first said that.
It's hard because there's Johan, which is Johan Zarco.
Yeah.
And then there's Johan, which is
that's what I call
Johan
him
Mir.
Yeah,
Mir is how you pronounce it, yeah. And also he's from the part of Spain where they speak with more of the lisp.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So he'll say Valencia.
That's right.
That's how he says it. Barcelona. He says it's just the part of Spain he's from. I can't remember where, but and so because usually in Spanish you see a J, and we all are used to Mexican Spanish, so we were thinking an H sound.
Oh yes, yeah.
But
yeah,
in
yeah.
Spain, they'll actually will
There's
say.
a
I
J
think
sound.
I could be wrong, but everybody says Joan for his name. So I should be more. I need to learn Spanish because I want to travel through South America, and it's just like, why not learn Spanish?
Yeah, like the Spain Spanish.
Yeah, I'd like a. Actually, they're depending on the region of Mexico you're in.
Mm-hmm.
The accent's much better. The Mexican accent I don't like is the Chihuahua accent. That's where you get kind of the more like, hey, like kind of the more nasally. And I've had friends from Chihuahua, and they were cool. I don't. It doesn't sound good to my ears from that second. But there are parts of Mexico that have a really. My buddy was telling me this. He's like, oh, he goes, yeah. There's many sections of Mexico I like their accent a lot better than Argentine or Chilean or even Spain. But he's much better traveled than me, so I'm like, I don't know. A little sidebar about just like American. I mean, just like English.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Some
different
sections of
accents
England
throughout the United States. Yeah, for sure.
Some sections of the UK and America,
well,
you
even
can't
in the United
stand their
States.
accents.
Yeah, even the United States, different accents throughout.
I think the Texas accent is kind of cool, but and even the southern, like Georgia, is cool, but sometimes you get like really backwoods, like Eastern Kentucky, Eastern Tennessee. I'm just not a fan.
What about I'm trying to think of one of the other guys that I've been trying to follow this year. Oh, Binder. Do you remember how he did last?
He was not doing much.
He was not. I think he might have been bottom half, but
yeah, well,
he's KTM, right?
Yeah, he's a KTM factory rider. He's Miguel's teammate. He finished the race, and actually, he wasn't performing that well in FP1 or FP2. And it was kind of funny because through FP2, I still hadn't heard Simon and Matt talk about Brad Binder yet. So I was like, oh, he must be doing lousy if those guys haven't brought him up. But I don't know. He's a very good rider, so we'll see if he does better this race. But I didn't really keep track of him much in that race because he was just all during qualifying and FP in practice, he was just middle of the pack. And then in the race, I forget. It's been a week, so I forget. But I just he's not great in the wet weather, and just kind of hung with everybody else.
Interesting.
Did you see Fabio mess up his bike switch?
No, I didn't.
He got a penalty for it. It was so funny. So when he came into the pits to get his bike, him and Marc, I don't know if you saw this, him and Marc were side by side.
Yeah, I did see. I did remember
the weather in the dry section. Fabio was ahead of him, but then when he got up the pits, Marc came in next to him. But because he's Marc, instead of just staying behind him, he got up right shoulder to shoulder with him and looked over at him to mess with him. And Marc turned into his garage, jumped on his bike, and Marc is probably faster than anybody else on the grid at switching bikes.
Switching bikes, yeah.
He switched bikes so quickly that from the angle you saw a bike pull in and then a bike pull out with him on it. And it almost looked like he was on the same bike. It was so quick.
Dang.
He jumped off one and got on the other. Fabio jumped off, and I couldn't see from the angle, but I was like, he came back out, and I was like, he kind of took a long time, didn't he? And then they showed the replay. What happened was Fabio got excited, and he pulled into Maverick's garage instead of his own. Because they're next to each other, and they're both Yamaha. So he pulled into the wrong garage. And they took his bike, and they're like, no, dude, over there. And so he had to run to the neighboring garage to get his own bike, or else he was going to jump on Maverick's bike.
It's like the pilot I had one time that pulled into the wrong terminal, missed my connecting flight. It's like, hey, bro, can you figure out where you're supposed to park this plane first before you tell us to get off it?
Yeah, Fabio had never done the bike switch before, and he just got a little excited. And so did Jack and Pecco both got excited too, and they went too fast in pit lane. Did you see that's why they had long lap penalties. They got speeding tickets.
Oh my gosh.
Jack was laughing about it because he won the race, and he's like, oh, those dang French, they're always giving me speeding tickets when I'm in their country. But yeah, you can, if you listen for it next time you're watching.
Yeah.
When the bikes are out on the grid or they're out on the track, they sound like, jet engines. They're just, but when they're in the pit lane, you'll hear this really rough engine noise. And that's because when they're in the pit, the guys hit a button, and what it does is it limits how fast the bike can go.
Okay.
It's a pit lane limiter. And they're only allowed to go 60 kilometers an hour, which I think is like 45.
Yeah,
Is it 40? Is as fast
I
as
thought
they're
it was
allowed.
35, but yeah, maybe.
Oh, yeah, you might be right. Yeah, it is. Because 50 and 80 are the same.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's pretty slow. So, and Jack and Pecco both didn't flip their switch in time, so they went into pit lane going too fast. So they got penalized. That's why they had. But it didn't matter because Pecco somehow was sucking all weekend and then got 4th place.
Yeah, that was. I will say it's
won.
happened every time in one of these races. Somebody has a bad practice run and they do well in the race.
Dude, Pecco's done this a couple of times now, which is like a really good sign for. Because remember, he got a track warning violation during qualifying a couple of races ago, and he would have been on pole position, but instead had to start in like 11th.
That's right.
He still came through and got on the podium.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. But I've noticed that though, because I've been watching real closely the practice runs and then writing down kind of based off of that who I think is going to finish where. And every time someone surprises me and they come in a top 10 finish, maybe not top 10, but top 12 finish. And I had them at like anywhere from like 14 to 16 type of a deal. And they'll be, 9 or 10 or even one time. I think I had someone that came in at like 5th that I was thinking they weren't going to even make it in the top 10. So
yeah, there is those guys that do surprise on Sunday. And that's why if you consistently do it, they call you like you're a Sunday man.
Oh yeah. Okay.
But the guys that win titles are the ones that are always there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You can tell.
Not just like
there's
they're
a big
doing the
difference.
practice.
I think we've talked about kind of the top 5 riders, and I think the top 5 riders are, they have a good leg up on pretty much anyone. I think it's like 1 through 5 is competitive, and then there's a space, and then there's 6 through like 12. You can kind of have those group of guys are kind of competitive, and then it's the lollygaggers at the end.
Yeah, last year was a weird year in that you had a lot more, like you had 10 different winners. It was just a weird year. But this year we're getting back more closer to the, it's the same guys that are in the front.
Right.
You're seeing like Zarco, he fell off one race, but he's been up there every race. And Pecco and Fabio and now Jack.
Yeah, Jack. Yeah, he's had.
And we'll see if Maverick can pull it back together and get back, because Maverick's talented enough to be up there, and Marc, obviously.
And Francesco, man, that guy's been just crushing it this year.
He's my favorite right now to win it all, because him and Fabio seem to be pretty even as skilled wise, but Pecco, I think, has got a better bike.
Yeah, I just think from what I'm seeing, he also seems like he seems like a little bit better of a rider.
He might be. He definitely, I think he's more level-headed.
Yeah.
And I think Fabio's really confident too, but Pecco he has this swagger about him that even when he's not winning, he still just looks like he's disappointed.
He looks very calm and comfortable. He does.
Yeah, he's not he's like, there's no reason to panic. Whereas like if Maverick doesn't perform well, Maverick's like you get the feeling Maverick's like pretty close to pushing the panic button.
Yeah.
Same with Jack. Like Jack was. So I don't know if you heard that. Is that after the 3rd race when Jack sucked, he got a phone call from Lucy Crutchlow, and you don't know who that is, I'm sure, but
no,
she's a British girl. Her husband Cal Crutchlow raced in MotoGP for years on a Honda, and he raced for other manufacturers too. But most recently,
this is Jack that got a call from him or from her,
his wife.
Yeah. Okay.
But Jack and Cal were really good buddies because, Cal's British, Jack's Australian. Yeah. So they got along well. Cal's he's older and more experienced. Cal is now the Yamaha test rider. So he's working with Fabio and Maverick to develop their bike. But he's not racing. But yeah, he's great. Anyway, Lucy called Jack and started cussing at him. He's like, "You're fucking good enough. Like, you better do it. Like, don't doubt yourself." And then he won the next race. right? And then, so it's kind of funny though, because that's the kind of thing that the media latches onto. So like Jack keeps getting questions from the media. It's like, did you talk to Lucy? Did you talk to Cal? What did they say? Like they have to make it. And Jack's just like, what do you think they said? They said congratulations.
Yeah.
Like Cal's a sarcastic British guy, so he's not going to be like, "Oh, dude, I love you." He's just going to be like, "Yeah,
Right.
about time, idiot." Right?
That's good, man. I didn't know.
So it's just funny. There's one reporter from Hungary that she's asked. I think she's asked the Lucy Crutchlow question like 3 times or something.
That's hilarious.
But
So
yeah, she's some blonde Hungarian reporter. I think she's pretty hot, but she's like 40, but I think she looks good. I think she used to race.
wow, that's cool. Two people that used to race. What about my last question is about Maverick. The guy comes out, wins the first race, and then he's just finished like 8 to 12 consistently since then.
So I can recap Maverick's 5 races. First race was perfect. Second race was actually a really good race, but he just caught up some traffic, and so he couldn't make the breakout to the front.
Okay.
So that was just kind of bad luck, but he ran a really good race. Third race might have been the one he screwed up his qualifying by getting a penalty.
And he had to start way back. Yeah.
Had to start from 12th, and because he was just kind of being a bitch after that, he ended up finishing like 18th. Like
he was definitely pissed about that.
It was in his head because Pecco was pissed too, but
Yeah.
Pecco made it to the podium.
Yeah.
Pecco started in 11th, made it to the podium. Maverick started 12th and went to the back. He didn't make any progress. And I can't remember the 4th race, so I can't recap them all. And then last race, it was mixed conditions. It's just kind of.
I know, it's just weird.
I won't judge the mixed conditions race too harshly. But this, if he's not up near the front with Fabio and Mugello,
I think he needs a top 5 finish this race. And I think if he doesn't get a top 5 finish, then there's something. There needs to be some questioning on, is he actually going to compete this year for?
I would say he needs a top 5 podium threat, or he needs to be the best Yamaha.
Okay.
So maybe, because I don't know, maybe they get to that track and all the Yamahas have problems.
Yeah.
And even Fabio can't get going. But if Maverick's the best Yamaha, they'll like, I don't know.
That's fair. Yeah.
But
is
if
Marc
Fabio beats him again,
race?
yeah, Marc will be ready.
Okay.
He's not injured. He was pissed after that last race because he crashed out of the lead.
He looks like he's riding piss though every race since he's been back. I think also it's my opinion that I think he thought he was going to be a smoother transition back into racing again than what it has been. And I think he's hungry, but I think he's pissed. I think he's like, I mean, you can just tell he's not happy. You can see his body language. You can see in his interviews. When you read his interviews, you can tell in his tone. Like
I agree.
He wants that podium.
Totally agree with you. I think he said, "Oh, we're gonna work back to speed. We're gonna be fine." But really, he's thinking like, "Yo, give me 2 races and I'll be back."
Yeah, exactly.
It just like hasn't happened.
Yeah.
So he's getting pissed that he's not further back to where he feels he should be. And also, he's got to learn to adjust to some extent because he's admitted that he used to be the guy that, like, I'm winning no matter what. I don't care about my body. I don't care about whatever happens. I'm winning. But now he's realized after he had a career-threatening injury, it's like, oh, actually, you only have one body. There's plenty of races. Yep. So he's trying to figure out how to be an aggressive racer like he always was, but also, like, not kill himself.
Yep.
And the other guys already were doing that. That's why they probably weren't as good as him. So he's got a.
I really want to see a vintage Marc. I want to see a vintage Marc here.
Yeah, he's going to win a race or 2 this year. I'm pretty certain.
Yeah.
He's still dealing with fatigue and kind of learning the newest bike still, and that's probably why he dumped it in this last race. Because he was pissed. Because anytime you crash out of the lead, you should be. He should have been on the podium. He should have absolutely been on the podium that last race, if not won. And he just crashed because he was. I think the rear end came around on him.
Yeah, and I think we talked about this in our last podcast too. That he just he has some of that mental psyche going. I think he's psyching himself out a little bit, whether he's second guessing his ability or whether he is overcompensating for it.
Yeah, I think last time we said he was racing scared. Now he looks like he's racing mad.
He's racing like a maniac. Yeah.
We'll see. He's last time he raced at Mugello, he took second place in a really closely contested race. So he expects to be contending for the podium at Mugello. And if he's not top 4, he's going to be pretty mad. Because he's won at that track. Or actually, no, I don't think he's ever won at that track. Maybe years ago, but Ducati has won like 5 times in a row at Mugello, I think.
Wow.
Maybe. I could be mixing that up with another track Ducati's always won at. But, it'll be really interesting to see his middle of the season when we get to like the Sachsenring in Germany.
Oh, yeah.
Marc has raced there 10 times in his career in different classes. He's never not won. So he's king of the ring.
And that's in Germany, you said? Yeah, that's like 2 or 3 races down the road. Nice.
Yeah, and again, it's one thing to he's never been off but no, he's literally never not won.
Never not won. Yeah. Wow.
So if he doesn't if something doesn't happen there, like I won't want to be around him. He's going to be pissed. I think the only other thing I was going to mention was one funny thing you should look for, and I've been laughing at this guy for a couple of years, is when the riders get into Parc Ferme after the race or after qualifying, and they go to do and they're all like celebrating the top 3. They go to do their interviews. There's one dude there that's like a head taller than all the other guys. He's a media guy. He's got long hair. He's always got his headset on, and his job seems to be wrangle the riders. And you'll see him, like when it's time for their interview, he'll go over and like grab them by the arm and like guide them. Because if he doesn't, they'll just be sitting there goofing around all day. And he doesn't just like tap them on the shoulder and say, "Hey, get your interview." He just grabs them by the arm and like hauls them over.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I've just noticed nobody ever comments on him. And he never seems to be like, I think at one time I saw him laughing with one of the riders, but most of the time he's just like straight face, like, get your ass over there and give your interview.
That's awesome.
Like, we got a schedule to keep.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, it's pretty good. So watch for that guy next race.
I'll have to do that for sure.
But anyway, man, this was fun. And
yeah,
I think we kept, let's see.